Hi, it's Katy Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate. Today I'm speaking with Bronwyn Bertles about the benefits of buyers working with a realtor in this hot Vancouver real estate market. Bronwyn is a realtor on the Vancity Living team with Remax Crest here in Vancouver. Bronwyn, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Yay! I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. We're here today at the TMG Vancouver office, so if you hear any outside noise, it's busy bee workers working away getting deals done. Bronwyn, let's start off by you telling us a bit about yourself, who you are, where you came from, how you became a realtor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Katy. So I'm originally from Alberta, born and raised in Edmonton, and I do remember as a child going with my mom on Saturday and Sunday afternoons and popping into open houses and, checking them out, seeing what's out there, and always kind of dreaming of the home that we'd love to have. So from a young age, I always really liked real estate. I finished a degree in business management, so it was great for kind of small businesses out of Concordia University in Edmonton, Alberta. I had a soccer scholarship to play there, so I was lucky enough to find a school that I could play soccer with, but also got a degree that really helped out me and my business in the future. During university, I did work for a few realtors, but more on the administrative side, so I got to see kind of behind the scenes what it really meant, not just the glamorous, oh, I'm at an open house, and, on poster boards and billboards and things like that. So I got my license in 2012. Took me about a year to complete it. Alberta has a little bit different rules than BC, but they're transferable over. So that worked out really well for my overall business plan. I then ended up in Calgary and sold real estate there till 2014. And from there, I ended up coming to Vancouver, was lucky enough with my partner's work, so kind of made the move to come to Vancouver, and that's when I was introduced to Vancity Living team. The owners of that are Mike Ramph and Sean Anderson, both realtors for a long time, but had formed the team in 2010. So since then, there's now 5 realtors on the team. There's 3 administrative staff doing everything from kind of the paperwork, back end, as well as a lot of marketing for us. Yeah, great team. Mike and Sean have been part of Medallion Club since 2007, which is the top 10% of Metro Vancouver realtors. And last year we did 97 deals. Averages out to about 8 homes a month or 2 a week. So we are on the ground working with buyers and sellers every day, all week. Go, go, go.
Begs the question, have you had a vacation this year yet?
Oh, yeah, I've gotten away a little bit here and there, which is one of the benefits of working with the team, is that there's, always someone there to help cover, to make sure that we have a little bit of a rest in between deals.
Excellent. What's sort of the one thing that stood out to you in your career thus far?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that the media portrays realtors in a lot of different lights. So lately especially, it's felt a little, oh, the realtors are bad, no, when really it's just a lot of hardworking, honest people, making a living in a commission-based economy. So, we try our best, and there's a lot of great realtors out there. So
no, I agree. Yeah, the media takes a certain slant or tone, and it's great that we have these platforms to communicate the other side of that. So
definitely, yeah.
Excellent. So let's move into our Ask the Expert segment. So we wanted to take some time today and discuss the benefit of buyers working with a realtor, and specifically, hopefully, you, and dive into some questions around that. But what do you see as the top benefits for a buyer working with you?
Yes, great question. I, again, lucky enough to work with the team, so I want to emphasize that this is something that works kind of with not just me, but with the entire team. A couple of just quick comments on that is we do have one of our team members does speak Mandarin and write Mandarin, so that's a huge benefit in the Vancouver market. We're able to help communicate as well as advertise listings throughout. And then, of course, the team comes with a lot of different backgrounds, so this means that we're able to really service different clients and different buyers, whether it be someone a little bit more first-time buyers versus experienced buyers versus looking for their own home or for investments. We have a nice range of people that can help out our buyers.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I kind of put together the top 5 reasons why home buyers choose to work with real estate professionals.
Okay.
Can kind of go through those and then maybe summarize, and feel free to jump in with any questions.
Absolutely.
One of the ones, we don't like the word free, but we try to talk about there's no real hard costs for a buyer up front. In most cases, and almost all cases, commission is paid by the seller. So having an agent working for you is essentially a free.
Do you find that most first-time home buyers don't already know that?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. Like anything, we're an expert and we're so used to these little things, kind of common sense, I guess, but not common because this never educated. Where do you find that out when you're a new buyer?
Absolutely.
You know, it's working with a mortgage broker is the same thing.
Yeah.
So we do get paid through the selling agent, and or through the seller, pardon me, and that's something that is, there's no hard upfront costs to the buyer. The second thing is you avoid overpaying for a home. Most buyers, want to know with certainty that they're paying kind of a fair price. Quite often sellers might put their home on the market and see what happens. But a real great real estate professional will educate you on the price of the current competitive properties, as well as similar homes that have recently sold, to make sure that you're picking it's an informed decision about your dream home.
Now, given how hot the market's been, it begs the question, have you had to work with a client where you've had to say, look, we need to go higher because of the demand or the interest in the property?
Right. Well, I think that goes back definitely. So yeah, this market has been record highs. So when you're hitting a record high, there's not going to be a direct comparable necessarily right there that showed you the price or value, pardon me. However, we're going to do our best. And we're going to look at, okay, the last sale was X amount. We're not going to go 10% over that, maybe 1% over that. So it's a little bit more reasonable. And then it depends on kind of the cash position, mortgaging, what the person's doing in the background, what their goal of the property is. If it's a short-term flip, then that's a different scenario if it's a home that they plan to be in for 20 years. But the idea is that we do our absolute best to make sure that we're explaining everything to you and giving you the facts that you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
The third thing we do, represent and protect your interests as a buyer. So it's really important to understand that sellers' agents are bound by contract to work for the best interest of his or her seller. The relationship with the seller becomes first and foremost for a seller's agent. So with that being said, as a buyer, when I represent a buyer, my first and foremost importance and interest is in the buyer's best interest. So that's really important because it even goes above and beyond my own interest. So buyers first, then everything else after. So what does that mean?
Yeah, just noting then that because if you're working for the buyer, you cannot, in good faith act on behalf of the seller as well, because you can't offer that advice, which is really where you're coming in as an expert, to offer that advice and what price do we offer at and how do we move forward with an offer and how do we present the offer. So really, I would assume you should never be in that position, in my opinion.
Yeah, double-ending deals is kind of a whole other side of things, and it can work out well, and it can work out, and sometimes it doesn't work out right. But the most important thing to know as a buyer is that if you have the ability at really no hard cost to have someone representing your best interests and putting, confidential advice, loyalty, due diligence, full disclosure, care, no conflict of interest, I mean, why wouldn't you explore that option? Absolutely. In my mind. We also have access to all of the listings on MLS, plus bank-owned properties, distressed or estate sales, even homes that were maybe previous on the market that the seller's taken off the market, and expert advice on how to use clauses to protect the buyer. So, how long do we make a subject to home inspection, a subject to financing? These are things that we can advise on how to write a contract. and how to make sure that they're negotiated on your behalf in your best interest first. And sometimes we try to throw in a clause that's a little bit, on slanted to the buyer. And if the seller's agent doesn't notice, perfect, We've just gotten something else to kind of protect the buyer in any and all cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly the disclosure of information and then the loyalty, confidence, and due diligence are sort of the main things to remember when, you're being represented and your interests are being protected as a buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of leading on to that would be the fourth reason to use a real estate professional. And I find that to be the negotiating the best price and terms of your most valuable asset. So there's definitely some professions out there, other sales, lawyers that are kind of negotiating on pretty frequently in their own job or career, but we negotiate all the time. And we see it from both the seller's side and the buyer's side. So that helps to make sure that we're doing the best job ever to negotiate the best deal for you.
Because you're not just negotiating price, it's dates, it's subject removal periods, it's the washer and dryer or the chandelier dangling in the entryway. It's every piece that could possibly be included in that contract, right?
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, when I was studying business, we did a negotiations course. And, you hear, relationships are important. And so I sat in class, was like, yeah, I'll write these notes and I'll memorize this for the test. But I was like, I don't know how much that really affects it. And then of course you see like legal shows and lawyer shows, and they're like, oh yeah, the relationship they built changed and da-da-da. And it wasn't until I got into real estate and had done some deals and gotten some deals under my belt that I really realized the benefit of creating good relationships with the other realtors in our community. So that meant that between our team as well as within like the industry, getting to know the realtors out there, building relationships up with them, sometimes you can get a really helpful tip about they really need these dates. So now we're able to, okay, let's give them the dates and maybe work on price. Use the relationships we build to favor our clients, and in this case would be the buyers.
I know that helps too when you're negotiating if lending is required for our side, on the broker side, where you can wholeheartedly say to an agent, a seller's agent, we may just need an appraisal, but we just need an extra day or two, and know that relationship is trusted, and therefore those days granted as opposed to losing the contract.
Yeah, or not being upfront. Oh yeah, my client's totally good, they'll be fine, financing's no problem. Then I have to go back to them and be like, just kidding, we need an appraisal. It's like, wait a minute, like there's a disconnect in what you were saying.
Yeah, you lose your credibility.
Yeah. And so, it's not always giving away the ship, but it's making sure that you're really balancing your client's best interests. And even myself, I've bought and sold real estate as well, and I hire a realtor. Because I do this all the time, but it's emotions. When we were purchasing our property here, hired a realtor, and I went and said, I'd really like the bar stools in the kitchen. And she's like, Bronwyn, that's like $300. Like, are you really gonna, like... And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning into a buyer. And then, so even myself, like, I hire a real estate professional when I'm doing deals, even though it's my career. So negotiating sometimes doesn't mean you can know it, but it's also taking that step back and saying, okay, I'm a little bit emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And going back to the fact that it is one of the biggest purchases, most valuable asset. It's where you raise your kids. It's where, there's so much emotion into it, as well as the finance side. So I'm happy to have that background to be able to say I've gone through it. I know what it feels
Absolutely.
like, and I get it. I know where you're coming from, but let's go. Let's do what's best, right? And then, of course, the last piece, and I know Katy will know lots about this, is managing the countless details and mountainous paperwork. So we find, ensuring that your I's are dotted and T's are crossed, that no balls are dropped is really important from start to finish, especially in contract law. You can't miss something. We can't be late on things. It's not as easy as, oh, well, we'll sign it later, that's fine. No, there's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. And I know Katy and I working together, it's great because our clients I can send Katy, oh, I need this, Katy needs that. We can send it back and forth and be really quick and really diligent in all the back end stuff that buyers are just excited about the new home.
Or you get a buyer at work saying, don't call me, call Bronwyn. So it makes it easier.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's smooth sailing and that there's kind of no obstacles in the way because, again, it's contractual. So, yeah.
I think what I hear a lot of in there is, the advice piece the whole way through. And if there is no cash outlay for a buyer, there's no reason not to hire a realtor.
Realtors, again, overall in the industry, all I see are great people working hard. For the most part, it's buyers' interests above our own interests. I've showed properties that were commission-free properties and said, okay, let's go into this. I'm going to try to negotiate my commission with the seller, but at the end of the day, if you love this house and it's your dream home, we'll get it for you, And that's not the ideal situation, and we work really hard, and there are a lot of costs involved on our side, but yeah, for the most part, it's the advice.
Now, I've seen you do this before, where you have a buyer that's relocating, say Kelowna, Kamloops, and you've actually been able to refer that client to someone up in that area. But let's say you've got a client moving to Montreal and you don't know the neighborhood, don't know the realtors. What three sort of key qualities would you advise the client to look for in a realtor as a buyer?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of the times I go to a lot of networking, even say North America wide, that lets us meet with other top agents in kind of different communities. So the first thing you can do is speak with your current realtor. So, you can come to me and say, hey, I'm moving. Can you help me out? Who do you know? I have contacts in a lot of the major cities in Canada, as well as some in the States that I've worked with in the past that I can say, hey, this is a great person. If you're going on your own, don't have that connection or whatever, I would look for someone that does do a fair amount of volume, because they'll be really in sync on what sellers are feeling in the market.
What does fair amount of volume look like for?
Well, it depends on the area, but they're not just doing one deal every 6 months. They're doing few deals a month to upwards of that.
Okay.
Maybe someone with a team, because then you're looked after, late on Sundays and early on Mondays, all week. And also someone that does have some experience in the area you're looking to go to. So I know that even in Metro Vancouver, we really specialize in Vancouver, West Side. We do a little bit on the North Shore and other surrounding areas, but we have great people that will take you out to Hope and things like that. So it's finding someone that knows the area quite well, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So if someone wanted to contact you, if they had more questions about working with a realtor, hiring you as a realtor, how can they reach you?
Oh, good question again. I'd love to hear from you. So our website is www.vancityliving.com. So vancityliving.com. My email is Bronwyn. So this is a tricky one. You might need to stop, pause, and replay it, but it's BRONWYN at vancityliving.com, and you can reach me by phone at 604-788-1235, and I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under my first and last name, so Bronwyn Bertles. So feel free to reach out to me in any of those capacities.
Bronwyn, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in and to chat with me. I'm sure there are listeners who will have heard things that they didn't know or didn't understand coming out of this podcast. So awesome value in working with a realtor as a buyer. So.
Yeah, I'd love to sit down. I usually, spend some time getting to know the client first and really understanding that we're on the same page of what they're looking for. So no pressure, and really nice time. So thanks for having me, Katy.
Excellent. Thanks, Bronwyn.
Bye-bye.